Alicia Burke, iCAS Director of Portfolio and Product Development. And today I'm excited to sit down with Max Martinelli, Actuarial Data Scientist at Accurate, and the designer of our AI Fast Track course. Max, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Alicia. It's been a pleasure working with you on this.
You as well. So let's jump into the questions. AI has become a buzzword in many industries, but why do you think it's particularly important for actuarial professionals to embrace AI now?
I think there's really two reasons. So first off is that we're seeing a lot more promise out of them than we had previously. So we've been using these AI techniques for a long time, but there's been so much advancement and so much promise that's coming out recently that the math on the ROI is changing a little bit. We're getting a little bit more out of that R in the calculation. But also is just that the adoption is becoming very vast, right? So you got to be careful when you say something like that because it sounds like you're trying to motivate people out of fear, right? Like if you don't adopt this, you'll fall behind. But there is some truth to that. Think about the first actuary that picked up Excel, right? So that person was doing a lot more work than their counterparts who weren't using it. And so as we see mass adoption, you probably are going to have to interact with these methods in some capacity.
What kind of impact do you see AI having on the future of actuarial work?
So I'm a bit of an optimist, and I think we're going to see it become ubiquitous. You also really want to be careful when you say something like that so it doesn't come off perceived as hyperbolic. I could really envision an actuary in 10 years managing hundreds of models in production, just as we talked about Excel, right? Excel was a big leap forward. The things that we're seeing now, you could very similarly see an analog in the future where the actuary has their hands all over AI. But that doesn't mean that the world has to totally change, right? The actuary's role in this field has been very constant, even though we're doing more work. So, just even in broader society, right? We still eat dinner with our family and friends. We still like to have entertainment. We still live in houses. But there's a way for everything to get more advanced and things to look largely similar to what they are today.
You've designed this AI Fast Track course specifically for actuaries. Can you tell us what inspired you to create this course and what key areas it focuses on?
I believe in actuaries, and part of that is because the domain knowledge, the skill set of actuaries is so valuable. So as we've seen, like insurance data scientists enter the market, right? They've had some impact on pricing and reserving, but it's been a bit subdued compared to their efforts on like marketing or underwriting. And part of that is because there's just so much domain knowledge that the actuary has that we really want to give them the skill set to amplify that with these methods.
Can you tell us what inspired you to create this course and what areas it focuses on?
Yeah, and so this is really going to be kind of like an all-encompassing view on artificial intelligence. We really want to give people a fast track to get knowledgeable on everything that's going on. But we're going to emphasize the areas that are most important to actuaries. So we can get a little bit of a taste of all the cool exotic stuff, but we want to make sure that they're focused on what they can actually walk away with and start using.
How does the course build on the existing skills that actuaries already possess?
Yeah, so this is actually the most interesting part. So we've already talked about domain knowledge, and that's really the name of the game here. So I think if you picked up a textbook on machine learning, you'd be surprised at how much domain knowledge or judgment comes in. It's really not as pure of a data-driven field as it sometimes comes off of. And so that's what we're trying to do here is give people the tools to tap into amplifying the power of their domain knowledge. The other really interesting part too is that some of the most cutting edge techniques that we're using in actuarial data science are actually built off the backs of the things that we were using before. So like the modern variants of generalized linear models, the CAS has been telling its members about GLMs for like 20 years. So these new ones are very cutting edge, very predictive, but it's not all that different from what we've been using.
Why is it important for both individuals and teams to consider this opportunity, especially in today's rapidly changing landscape?
Yeah, so for individuals, it's fairly obvious, right? Professional development, the intellectual stimulation that comes with learning these new things, and just the general interest in the industry. For teams, it's actually a little bit different. There's some calculus that comes to taking all these individual parts together and working in a collaborative effort. So when we're working in teams, my output of my model might be an input into your model, or you might be the stakeholder who has to review these things. So one of the cool things about this track is that we're really going to focus on fluency. And if you remember, Alicia, I actually wanted to call it the AI Fluency Cert. Thank God you intervened. We picked a more marketable name. But that is really kind of what we're focusing on here is making people fluent. So even if you're not necessarily building the models, you're interacting with these things to some degree. And someone doesn't have to build up from scratch like, oh yeah, this was a Tweety distribution with a parameter power of 1.5. And then you have no idea what that means and they need to explain that to you. So we can get very quickly up to speed and start getting the benefits of working in these teams.
This seminar is unique in that it's not just a one-time event, but the start of a 5-year cohort journey. Why did you decide to include ongoing support and collaboration as part of the program?
Well, again, I'm not going to take credit for that, Alicia. That was your idea. The reason I was so excited about it and jumped at it when you suggested that is because there's a lot of benefit to having that community component. This has actually been the big lesson of the Casualty Actuarial Society for years, right? The CAS has kind of been this centroid for all of us where we can all work on different lines of business or disciplines or functions, but we come together and we see what's common between them. And we can cross-pollinate these ideas. The community aspect is really tapping into that. It's the same kind of idea where we can all work on different things, but share ideas. It doesn't take years for this information to proliferate. We can see it live as it's coming through. So I'm really excited about this part.
And how do you envision participants benefiting from this extended cohort experience?
I've been a part of a lot of online courses just for my own professional development over the years. And I've seen the groups that do and do not have this community element. The power of that community element is that we typically have these periods of gradual increase, but then these punctuated shocks. So think about the last few years. We've had things like GAMS, derivative lasso, AGLM that came out of nowhere and just took over. And the nice thing about the community aspect is people can start sharing those ideas earlier and get access to them faster. So we don't need to wait 10 years for these new methods to get adopted. We can start tapping into them much quicker.
What's the most exciting development in AI that you think actuaries should be paying attention to right now?
I mean, I hate to keep beating a dead horse, but the most interesting thing to me is that as everything is changing so rapidly and there's all these new cutting edge things, the best methods that we've seen are built on the backs of what the CS has already been showing us for years. So these modern GLM variants that are wickedly predictive, they're still built on the GLMs that we've been learning about for a long time. And we get all the benefits that we like, the interpretability, the parametric nature of it. So I'm excited for just seeing how that continues to progress.
It really resonated with me when you were sharing some of the feedback that you were hearing from actuaries about this feeling of being left behind. They had to catch up. And that's what gave us this idea of a fast track to help people understand how much they already had and really just leveraging it in new ways. Can you speak a little bit about that? Because your message about wanting to empower the actuaries and help them get confidence in what they already knew I felt really powerful. I just wanted to hear a little more from you on that.
Yeah, and your research was pivotal on this. So I'm really thankful that we built this based on you talking to members and seeing what they were saying. But this is when one of the more eye-opening things to me is that I think actuaries tend to be a little bit more down on themselves than they need to be. Maybe it's just the nature of the industry moving very fast. But when you're on LinkedIn and you see all of a sudden these generative AI experts pop up, people who are, make it sound like they've been experts in this forever and now it's the hot new thing. Not to be down on those people, I don't know what they're doing, but it turns out that actuaries have been experts in AI ML for a long time. We just weren't calling it that. And we definitionally show that throughout this project that you've actually been doing a lot of these things. You are an expert. You know more about a GLM than 99.9% of the human population, even if you haven't built one because you've been a member of the CAS. So I think that actuaries just need a little bit of a boost and a reminder to show them that you actually have got the skill set that's in demand right now.
Thank you so much, Max Martinelli from Accurate, for sharing your insights. AI Fast Track begins November 12th. You can learn more about the course on our site at casact.org. Don't miss your chance to be a part of this first AI iCAS cohort. Teacher limited, so register today.